excitement. Can't even contain the excitement. Well, so welcome to another episode of Manufactured in Africa. This is your host, Ionela. We're on the series No Ordinary Voices. No Voices Ordinary, where we profile people who are doing amazing things. And here we've got Raphael Ngarachu, our host, all the way from Kenya, lived in Uganda, then now lives in South Africa. And you'll be excited to know what he does, guys! And then we have our co-host, Tatenda, as you know. So I'm going to hand over to them to greet you guys, but I've done my greetings and I'll introduce Raphael. Guys, his profile, oh my gosh, you guys, amazing. Okay, Raphael, over to you. Maybe you're blushing now. How hot are you?
I'm a little bit hot.
No, we turn the aircon on. Yeah, the aircon on.
No, definitely it takes.
I know all of you go first.
Obviously, it takes a bit of getting used to somebody introducing you so wonderfully. So I'm definitely honored to be here. My name is Raphael Ngarachu, as Ionela said.
Yes.
I don't know if I should get into the details just yet.
No, not just yet. I need to introduce you myself. Maybe I should start introducing him first. So this guy, he went to my alma mater, BITS. He studied corporate finance and investments, right? Corporate finance and investments, and he was the distinction type, right?
I tried.
Yeah. And then went on to do a business, like honors in that, and then he did deals 3 years at PwC, and then now, guys, we're gonna have him tell us the story. He now works at Sony, and he works in the strategy division as well as AR.
You're spoiling.
I'm so excited.
No, I can see.
I'm very excited, and he's doubled like in a couple of big firms like your R&Bs, where he's done as internships, your Bain and companies. So like he's got like a lot of experience, and the reason why I think he's really good for this channel is because he shows that it's doable. Regardless of who you are, where you come from, what you do, it is doable. You can get to those big name brands. You can do what you want to do. Absolutely. Especially because he's doing what he wants to do now. Hi, Booty, come here. Iphone. Okay, but then, yes, Tatenda, introduce yourself so we can get into the conversation.
Hi guys, welcome to Manufactured in Africa. My name is Tatenda Katsumbe. I'm the co-host for the podcast. Now, friend, let's get into it now.
Yes, we're getting into it. So, Raphael, tell us about yourself. Outside of the accolades, the academics, who is Raphael Ngarachu?
So, at the core of it, I'm a brother.
Yes.
Got a really massive family, which I'm very, very proud of. So,
Yes.
So I've got 4 younger brothers. I've got 3 older sisters. Sometimes I forget, the numbers are very, very huge. I think for me, you shocked.
Wow.
Yes.
Anyway.
I've seen the shocked faces around me. No, Kenyans like to have big families. It's all about that farm mindset that I think sort of stems back from like right back in the day and everything like that. So kids and investment and everything. But I'm really, really happy. Obviously, it taught me a lot of, good virtues in life, like how to share and all of those different things. It's definitely been an asset to me as well, like just sort of going through life, having people older than you, walk forward and you can learn from them and everything. So at the core of me, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, I'm a lover of music, I'm a lover of life, a lover of sport as well. I'm somebody who's, really connected to people. I get my energy from people, and that's, kind of what actually led me to the music industry. But we'll get into that a bit later, but I think that kind of just touched a little bit spice of who I am. Yeah.
And I think you're forgetting to tell people about your story from Kenya, Uganda to South Africa. But one thing I need to highlight, I have experienced the whole you're a lover of people, because I reached out to you on LinkedIn and you were more than willing. I was like, this guy, is he human? I need to see if he's human. But now in the flesh.
No, in the flesh.
Yeah,
in the flesh.
Nice, you can, if you could just briefly tell people about your journey and what that journey has taught you, having been born in Kenya, going to Uganda, and then
For sure. So I was born in Kenya. I lived there for 8 years, and then my parents got divorced when I was in Kenya and everything like that. And then my dad got a job in Uganda. So we moved to Uganda, which is quite a scary jump. Obviously, in Uganda, like nobody's. I mean, it's a small little country. In Africa and everything like that. Not really covered in the media, so we literally were going in completely blind.
Okay. So is this you and your dad?
So me and my dad, and then my mom actually stayed behind in Kenya.
Okay.
The majority of my family is actually in Kenya, but it's more like not my immediate family, more extended, aside from my mom. So that's really our anchor, sort of that side. But yeah, so we went to Uganda and we lived there for 3 years. Uganda was very, very interesting, quite a unique country. Went to an international school there as well, where I was just in a melting pot of various different people from around the world, which is really, really great. I learned so much from interacting with people from different cultures. You learn to just have like a very sort of global mindset. I mean, I was already learning about things going on in Europe, how people our age were kind of living their lives. What people they were thinking about, for their futures, because I've learned sort of like from traveling and everything, like it's actually a very different culture in certain countries, like in Europe. Like, I mean, we all out here chasing corporate jobs, people out there, are trying to, start the next Facebook. People are not in a rush to work for somebody else. So it was a really, really great environment to learn what other people are doing with their lives and how other people are guided from their cultures to kind of like live out their lives. So it was Uganda for 3 years, and then once again my dad got a job in South Africa, which was actually very, very cool, because I think South Africa, and sort of at the time that we were at with school and everything, it was probably the right place to go, because my older sister was thinking about going to med school, which I never actually ended up following through with. But South Africa had sort of the best base to actually, Wits University. You look at the charts and everything. We have UCT here and everything. So my dad decided to move us all out here and just start building a foundation for us to eventually go to university, which we knew would be a challenge, because actually getting into university here as a foreigner is actually so easy. So that was actually part of the reason why my sister wasn't able to go to med school, which is quite interesting. I know you were speaking to me about medicine as well. So I mean, there was various obstacles that she needed to jump through to kind of get there, but unfortunately she decided, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, because she's doing really well now, she went down the economics route, which is kind of what set the tone for my whole family, going down the kind of finance and kind of route and everything. So she did economics. My second older sister did economics. Then my older brother, watching Suits and everything, got inspired to go into some sort of investment bank. He loved Suits. Let's just say that. He loved Suits. The series Suits and Suits itself. His mind is just there from like the get go.
I want to wear the tie, the night drip, and then navy suits and brown shoes.
I was always in for the very he's over the top like that, and so I mean, that's what motivated me to after finishing high school and everything, which I did at the King's College in Bryanston, went to Wits and kind of followed in my brother's footsteps, and just I feel as though a lot of us are either influenced by something we see. Some of our ideas are never original at that stage. I did my best to try and research and really decide where I wanted to go, but I mean, obviously environment is a big factor. That's always at play there. So I mean, I went down the corporate finance and investment routes, which I don't regret at all. I think it was really great for me at that stage in my life. I think maybe I paused it. So that's really part of my journey before work and all of that kind of stuff.
I actually wanted to ask you, because a lot of the time, I'm excited that you had somebody who showed you, because when I started in corporate finance, I was like, what is this? What am I supposed to be even doing in this job? So I'm really glad that you spoke about how you were influenced. You knew from, because you were exposed to it and somebody else was involved in that. Okay, so you can let's go into your career journey now. You get into corporate finance because your brother is in corporate finance and investments, and you're like, okay, this is going to be a career for me. Okay, you get in there. Why the change? Why the shift? How did the shift come about? Okay, question number one. How did the shift come about, and why did the shift come about?
For sure.
Whichever way you want to answer it.
Cool. So I guess probably the best way to sort of tell the story as well is that I guess it definitely started off there from, the influence from my brother, and I also forgot to mention my dad as well, who, sort of, being a CA and then sort of getting into corporate finance and that kind of strategy world, that environment felt very easy for me to kind of fall into.
Yeah.
And you know, sort of my brother is 3 years older than me, so you know, once I saw him, you know, getting his career sort of on the, like, you know, getting a bit of momentum, it was kind of easy for me to follow in those footsteps. And I feel as though at that stage in my life, and I feel as though potentially it's, you know, from the different moves from different countries, I was really trying to find out who I was, but at the same time, like, I had a lot of confirmation just based through the success that I was seeing in my older siblings and stuff, that, you know, I can just kind of follow this path and I'll kind of succeed, but I was still in that process kind of trying to figure out who I am, but I wanted to have a successful kind of journey, if that kind of makes sense. So I wasn't really willing at that stage to try whatever it is that in my heart that I wanted to try. Because like I was, you know, I was afraid to fail. There was obviously the pressure from my parents, having invested so much to get us into this country, and you know how black parents are. It's really, you know, it's really about like,
yes, I wasted my money.
If you
the
fail,
highway
like,
or the highway.
like you better make sure you're passing.
Make sure, yes.
So I mean, there's a lot of pressure to succeed from a very young age, and for me at that stage, I hadn't really found my confidence to be like, you know, I know who I am and I know what I can achieve. Let me actually now go out on a whim and be like, let me actually try this, and if I fail, I fail forward. But yeah, so for me, yeah, going down corporate finance just kind of made sense at that stage. Got into a couple of different, you know, sort of internship programs as well, just kind of led through by my brother who did exactly the same thing. And then at some point in time in varsity, actually it was around my honors year, I came across this management consulting world. Which I never actually really come across before. So the Bains and the McKinseys, and like, you know, at varsity and stuff, people talk, everyone's now talking about, you know, I'm going to get this job and this is how much money that they pay. And I was so shocked to find out that actually some of these management consulting firms pay just as much as the banks, and in some instances even more. So like obviously at that stage, you know, now like, you know,
maybe let me try.
I was like, yo, let me just get a bit of a taste.
Try my hand here and there.
Exactly. So yeah, I went down the Bain route as well, which is a very, very interesting journey. I can get into that a bit later if you want me to. Yeah, so I went to Bain and stuff, got a bit of taste of that, but eventually sort of got drawn back into corporate finance, where I joined PwC in an amazing sort of deals program, which is kind of like the first of its kind in South Africa. So it was an opportunity for us to like rotate through a number of deals divisions, so doing things in mergers and acquisitions and restructuring, valuations, and because I was still really not sure where I wanted to be, that seemed like the best program. And PwC, from the interactions that I'd had sort of with people there and like at the banks and various other places, the culture really just sort of like, you know, lent itself to me. So that was the first thing that I decided to do. And the scariest thing about it actually is that from the very first day that I walked into that building, I really wanted to leave. Like it was just one of those things where something within me was always pulling from the beginning to be like, you know, like Raph, you really need to do like some work to really figure out what you want to do. And I always just had this awareness of the people around me, and almost like, how can I sort of say this? Like the choices that they were making with their life. Like, okay, for me it was never about the surface. Like I was always looking at like the most senior people around me, and I was looking at their lives, and I was thinking to myself, is that the life that I want? And I was always looking around me and trying to like match that kind of like vibe, because I was always like, you know, are these the type of people that I want to be hanging around with? Like, is your life the kind of life that I want? Because you follow that path, that's where you're going, you know what I mean?
But did you feel like you did you feel like you belonged in that environment in every aspect, socially, career-wise, professionally, everything? Did you feel like,
and can I add on to
do
that?
I belong here? I want to be here.
And maybe talk about any complexities that you may have felt, because I mean, okay, you were privileged enough to have a father that was a CA, where you could have gone into these big buildings. These big buildings. You saw these people, how they operate, how they dress, suits. But I mean, did you experience any complexities when you were in that space? But we can answer his question first, and then we can get into the complexities and challenges that you did face. Because I like the fact that you were cognizant that you needed to know who you are. In any career journey or career path that you take, you need to dig deep within and know the things that you like, the things that you love, the things that you have to do. And so many of us are stuck in that rat race where our thing is drag myself to work every day, but are you fulfilled? Are you happy? Do you want to be in that building? But yes.
And I think, I mean, maybe just because that's
I think
quite.
I think it's related.
Yeah, it's 100% related, and I'll get back to what you were saying. But I think for me, definitely, like my dad was always that kind of person where, you know, Sundays he'd be like, "Hey, family meeting, family guys, please sit down. Let me impart some wisdom on you." And we hated it
We're
at
going
that
into
stage.
level 1 now.
Yeah, but
but no, I'm just joking.
but like really, like looking back right now, like I realize how much, and I mean, it was literally just like small breadcrumbs, things that he would say here and there that actually really started to like show its value later on in life. But he would always tell me about this thing called like a penthouse test. So he'd always be like, you know, whatever environment you're in, he was like, imagine yourself getting to the top. You're in that penthouse, you think about yourself in New York or whatever, like you're the top of the law firm or whatever like that, and you're looking out of this penthouse that you've made it to, you've got a drink in your hand, and you're reflecting on your life. Like now you've made it to the top, there's no way further than that. Are you satisfied? Like, and think about everything, like what that life is gonna lend itself, like, you know, your family lifestyle. Because a big thing as well that my dad always taught me as well is that don't just look at the job, think about the lifestyle. Because you're spending more than a third of your life at that place. So he was like, really think about the lifestyle that you want more than anything else. Because he was like, you remember at the end of the day, you're a human being, you're not a human doing, you're not a robot.
Exactly.
You know, you actually gotta live your life. So he was always like, just make sure that you're balancing the career with actually your life. So for me, it was always like I was always constantly checking that stuff out, and I feel as though a lot of us, and especially a lot of people who've had, you know, a struggle in, you know, whatever aspect of life, whether financially, family-wise, you know, they had to sort of come up on their own and really fight tooth and nail to get to where they are today. Really, all they want to do is just accumulate money and accumulate things that just give them safety.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But they often forget that they actually have a life to live.
Definitely.
So a lot of people get in those environments and they're like, I just want to succeed, I just want to succeed, I just want to succeed. And they're like so stuck in this rat race, as you were sort of saying, but they never look up to be like, actually, am I living?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And for me, a lot of my life was that, where I was literally just fighting to get to the top, getting to the top. Then when I finally started to get a bit of momentum, it was like, should I be putting all of this energy, and like for me it was like, you know, like that potential energy, like should I be putting all of this potential energy in this direction? And I had so many peers of mine who were doing much, like they literally had, okay, one thing is that I realized that they had learned how to fail earlier on in life, and hence they were never really scared to try things, and nobody really had an expectation of them to succeed. And what actually that allowed them to do was actually to go out there and just pick something amazing that they were keen on doing, and they just started doing it. And I just started to see them having success, and I was like, my goodness, if I actually did that, I could probably see more, not in an egotistic way, but more success than they see, you know what I mean? So I was like, you know what, I actually need to take a step back and be like, let me think about where I'm putting my energy. But now to your point of like, you know, did I feel like, you know, sort of comfortable in that environment from the beginning? I think for me, I was very, very fortunate once again, you know, sort of, you know, giving credit again to my parents and my older brothers. My dad was also quite fortunate. I mean, he came from Kenya as well, from the farmlands and everything, got a scholarship, managed to go to the UK to study and everything like that. So he, from a very sort of like early age and everything, got to see the world. I mean, he really imparted that global mindset into us. So, I mean, everything from preparing us, and even that whole mindset I thought about my brother with like loving suits, just like the way you dress, the way you present yourself, the way you interact with different people from different cultures, like that was ingrained in us like a very early age. My dad would force us to read, my dad would force us to watch documentaries, and it was a pain at that stage, but I learned. Only now I see the value of that. And for me, getting into that PwC environment, like I felt as a, like, not in an egotistic way, but I was born for that. Like it was very easy for me. Like networking was what I was taught to do. You know, talking to people, putting my best foot forward was, and like many, I mean, I struggled even with imposter syndrome for a very long time, because I'd learned so well how to just present myself in a certain way, even before I could really back up what I was saying, if you kind of know what I mean. And it's a I mean, obviously it's a good skill to have, and then you gotta always like balance it out. But I mean, even Ray Dalio, one of the biggest billionaire investors in the world, he owns, what is the name of that major private equity firm? I think it's Bridgewater or something Capital.
I think
we can go and Google that
it's
later.
Bridge Capital.
Is it Bridge?
I'm not sure, but
Bridgewater or something.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah. But I mean, he was always a proponent for saying things like, you know what, like, you know, say yes to the job and figure out how to do it afterwards.
Definitely.
And to be honest, like, as I've always said, like there's a bit of a balance to it. Like like don't just accept
Exactly.
for whatever.
Yeah.
But there is that aspect of like you don't have to be fully prepared for something to say yes to it.
True.
And I mean,
sometimes it's just you just have to.
Exactly, and that for me, and I'm now sort of jumping in sort of two places. I need to come back to what you're saying. But that's kind of actually what led me to Sony Music Entertainment, is because for me, I was always kind of saying to myself, 5 years, 10 years, let me get to senior manager, let me be able to prove that I've got like hard-earned experience doing all of these things for different clients, that I've got this and I can do that, whatever, and then I'll apply, and then they'll see what's on my books and then they'll accept me. But I honestly had that thing ringing in my head. I was like, you know what? I can do it, and I can just figure out how to do it as I get along. You know what I mean? And it was really like a nerve-wracking process for me, because even when I did get in the door, which I'll explain how I got in the door and everything, but like there was that day one, like, oh my goodness, I did not expect him to say yes. Now I'm here. Now I actually have to back up what I said, and I did, and I've done it at a level that I honestly did not expect I'd be able to do it. But it's honestly because I just had to keep reminding myself every single day that you can do this and you can figure it out. And the only person who has those high expectations of yourself is actually you. I was the only one freaking myself out, but I knew that it was obviously a new environment, and I set the tone. I told them, this is where I want to get to. I still need to do this groundwork, but like I was very confident in sort of saying that I will get there faster than anybody else. Even though, you gotta just kind of back yourself up sometimes, like. But
Raphael,
yeah,
you dropped. You dropped. I'm here for this conversation.
I packed my questions down. Forgetting now, but anyway,
but the thing is, I love everything you said, especially the fact that you can do anything. And I think our biggest limiter is our mind. We limit ourselves because you're like, I can't do that. I can't go and knock on Sony's door and be like, hey, give me a job, because they'll be like, why should we give you a job over the other 7 billion people? And I wish you had this conversation with me 3 years ago. Maybe I would have made different decisions for my life, but I don't regret where I am right now. But I appreciate the fact that you're saying that if you believe you can do something, it's not about the accolades that you pick up along the way. If you just knock on the door and somebody opens the door, do it. Because I mean, surely if something was pushing you in your heart, telling you go, this is not the environment for you, then obviously there was a better path prepared for you, whether by the universe or God or whatever you believe in. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, but I think also for someone like me who likes safety nets, so I'm a very safe person, when I'm navigating things. Of course, I do, make drastic changes here and there. But I'm assuming that, there are tools and techniques that you learned at PwC. And I'm thinking maybe the shift from PwC right up until you eventually went to Sony, it's almost like, you're going in a different trajectory. So how equipped, how prepared were you? Did you ever have any, those moments where like, how prepared am I, where you questioned yourself? And then also secondly, when you eventually got into Sony, are there tools and techniques maybe or life skills that you learned at PwC that you're able to merge, with at Sony? I don't know if you can just take us through.
No, 100%. So I think, like you were sort of saying as well, I 100% do not regret being at PwC. That was the greatest learning journey for me. And I think for me, I was really, really blessed to be with one of the most amazing managers ever. I wouldn't mention his name on this podcast, but he knows who he is if he ever sees this. And he was my, more than just a manager, he was a coach in life and at work. And he was just different. And I literally anchored myself to him. And it was almost like, you can call it God or you can call it the universe or everything like that. But I've always just had this thing and this mindset that I've tried to sort of keep in just as I walk through life, that the universe is always conspiring in my favor. God's always conspiring in everyone's favor.
Exactly.
You just have to shift your focus. Like, if you're going to look at the bad things, you'll see the bad things. If you're going to look at the good things, you'll see the good things. And I just saw this light in this man. I anchored myself to him and he taught me so much. It's particularly him, but also just my experience at PwC, specifically being in the deals environment. Coming in there as a grad, the majority of people there are all managers. So it's people who experience, people are running at a very fast pace. So you got to learn there very quickly. Day one of the job, someone there okay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Excel and all this stuff, now I'm getting technical, but like day one someone's asking you to build a financial model, and financial model is a super complicated, you would know all about this, and it's literally like you dropped in the absolute deep end, like the waters over here,
with the sharks,
the waters exactly, and like you've got a month to produce this product, and like no one's gonna sit down and tell you, yes, at the beginning they're gonna give you a bit of guidance and all that kind of stuff, but like where you start to struggle, you need to learn how to help yourself, if that kind of makes sense. So you need to learn how to like seek help, you need to learn how to, you know, exactly, no one's gonna come to you every single morning and be like, hey,
are you okay,
how are you doing, like you were working on this last night, like how's it going, you know what I mean, like there's none of that. Like you have to kind of become like a very self-starter. You got to be able to push yourself in a very fast-paced environment, because everybody's also like got their own things going on, everybody's super stressed out, so you need to learn how to drive your own sort of progress and success there. So I think for me it taught me how to teach myself very early on, but also how to back myself, like I mean, sort of going back to that point there, because like you never really knew if what you were doing was right, which is very scary because you're in a finance environment where everything is supposed to be super accurate. You can't guess.
And there's no exam. Like
exactly, there's no exam. It happens.
There's no guessing.
Exactly. You put something together and you're just like, I know this is right, but you're gonna go and you're gonna have confidence and you're gonna back it up. And like through that process of somebody bashing, you know, taking a red pen and absolutely destroying what you've put together, you learn to like detach yourself from that kind of, you know, criticism and stuff, because you know it's constructive. You know, yes, maybe it's the person, you can take the person out of the equation, but you learn quickly how to take that and like correct it, and you do the iterations. It happens so many times. So you learn how to be very quick on your feet. You also learn how to use Google very well. So Google's a very important product and everything like that. So I feel as though when I went to Sony and you know everything that I'm doing there right now, it was pretty much for me like I knew I could learn very well, and I knew I could learn fast, and I knew I could apply very quickly. So I knew how to drive my own success, and that kind of makes sense, which I believe is definitely, you know, the results. Well, I hope it's my boss is seeing this. I hope it's manifesting.
No, you've been there for 9 months, so you're doing something right. You're doing something right. But one thing I'm picking up from this conversation is, which is very important, which is something that we need to learn, that even if we have those self-doubts, we have those complexities, but we need to drive our own success. Whatever validation we need, and for success to come, it comes from within. If you don't push yourself, no one's going to push you. And that's how the world actually is, and that's how it works. When you go into the workplace, no one's going to be your mom and hold your hand, wake you up in the morning, are you okay, just a cup of coffee. No, you need to do it. You need to do the work, put in the work, and focus. Yes. Now,
and I'm being very I'll actually sort of add there as well, is that I mean, like, I don't want it to make it seem as though like I'm a super confident person, because like even if my friends and stuff who might watch this stuff, they'll know like I've got my close circle and everything, but like don't wait for yourself to be confident to do something. Like just do it scared. Like it's just going through the process will make you more confident.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Once you see that you can do it.
I can relate because like for me, the work environment was a culture shock, and I think for the longest time I expected that somebody was going to be holding my hand, like asking me, are you okay? Because then people are like, when people are like, okay, they tell you that you're here to learn, we understand, we are going to help you through the process, but then nobody tells you what the process will be, like how the process should go. So you find yourself thinking you're in the deep end, but it's just how the world works.
For sure.
Please tell everyone that, like, what you did, why, like the whole process, please. That story is so inspiring, you guys. It inspired me because it reminded me that you go for what you want. You must go for what you want. No one's going to give you anything in life. You work, in as much as we say work for it, but you also need to position yourself, and you need to work towards it. Drive towards it. Go get it. Go grab it. Go get it. Yes!
No. I think for me, to be honest, like it's like one of those, it's probably like out of everything that I've ever done in my life, like it's probably the process of how it came about is probably like, how can I sort of say it, like the biggest badge of like whatever,
whatever
I
agree.
you know what I mean, like I
agree.
couldn't shut up about it. Like it was just like so crazy how it happened, because it was literally, so I mean, okay, first of all, how the shift actually happened is that, you know, COVID, this lockdown, whatever, in very weird ways, it's been an absolute
blessing.
It's been okay. Well, first it's been a tragedy for a lot of people. Let's just make sure we honor that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it actually was a super blessing for me. Number one, I mean, I literally just moved out of my parents' house just like a month before this world shut down and everything. So it really just allowed me to also like save a lot of money because I wasn't going anywhere and be able to build my base, which happened a lot quicker because of like COVID and everything. But during that time, I think just getting away from like the craziness and the noise of just like the environment that I was in and everything, just like, I mean, even if I was working probably twice as hard as I was working, you know, at the office, like from home, because you never got away from your laptop.
Exactly.
You woke up, your laptop was on you while you're having breakfast. It's all the way until
you
I
go
went
to
to bed.
bed.
It was crazy. But like it gave me a lot of time in those like small little gem moments, having a coffee outside, looking outside on the balcony, and just like reflecting on a lot of things. Like I felt as though I managed to get rid of a lot of noise in my head, and I really just managed to just focus on me. And every single day, that kind of like exercise of just focusing on me, just hit like one day I just hit a wall where I kind of just realized like, what the hell am I doing? Like, it's not that the environment was terrible or anything like that, but I was just like, I did that Penthouse test or whatever, and I was just like, this is not where I want to be going. And for me, I literally, and I don't know what it was, the accumulation of all the various podcasts and talks that I've had with all my mentors, but I literally just told myself like, you know what? I'm literally going to pick 3 industries or 3 interests of mine. Because, you know, everyone is like, you know, choose a passion or whatever. Like, nobody has just like not everybody just has like a passion.
Or
you are aware of
in your head.
or you are aware of it. But some people are so self-unaware.
Exactly. But I just try to think about, you know, for me, what are those things that make Raph? And for me, it was an exercise of even just speaking to my friends and being like, you know, like, what do you realize about me that just makes me? Like, when you're around me, what do I talk about all the time? You know, what for me is just life, if you know what I mean. And that was music and that was cars.
Yes!
Music, cars, and sports.
BMW.
Yeah. So I was literally like, you know what, I'm going to go onto the Mercedes-Benz website, which is the number like, for Formula 1 and everything. That's a different conversation. I was literally like, okay, Mercedes-Benz, let's pick top companies. Mercedes-Benz, BMW, because I was like, I'm in a finance role. Companies at that scale definitely have a corporate finance department. They definitely have a finance department. I didn't really want to do finance, but I wanted to be corporate finance, strategy, all of those, because they're constantly acquiring different companies. So I was like, I could definitely do that. So I was like, cool, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, you know, Volkswagen or whatever. Then I was like, okay, cool, music industry, who are the top names? And for me, it's always about going for the top. So I was like, Sony Music Universal.
You go big.
Yes,
you
go
big.
home.
Always. No, you can't play small, guys.
Yeah.
So I literally was like, okay, cool. I'll go for the music first. If that fails, then I'll go into cars. And literally, I was like, between Universal and Sony Music, I was like, cool, I will message the leaders of these companies. Whoever responds back to me first is kind of like where I go, the journey I go down. So I literally just, and I think it was, just again, the blessing of lockdown, because when I actually spoke to my boss about it now, he actually even told me that he probably would have never responded to me if he was in the craziness of like life in general. But he was at home as well, just like everybody else. So like I hit him up on LinkedIn. I literally explained my story and I was like, yo, this is a long ass message. But I was like, I really hope that he just can digest this and see me for who I am, you know, and everything. So I put my best foot forward. Sent him a message on LinkedIn and I was like, you know what, now it's out in the universe, let's see what comes back. You know, you put it out there and let's see if the energy comes back. And yeah, he responded to me and I was literally just like, you know what, I would offer to buy you a coffee, but obviously we can't do that, but like, let's just have a Zoom chat. Let's just get to know each other, whatever it is. I'm not asking for anything specific from you. There was no job application, whatever. So it was literally just a conversation. We had an hour-long chat where I explained to him, you know, who I am, what I want to do, why the music industry. He explained to me his journey and everything like that, and it was more just like a conversation which just kind of ended from there. And then a couple of months went back. There was a conversation that spanned an entire year.
Oh wow.
So the conversation kind of fizzled out a little bit. Hopefully I'm not getting the details jumbled up here. You know, I was very excited during the time, but like I think I followed up with him, and then he was like, you know, I'd love for you to chat with the financial director. And, you know, just tell him about yourself, tell him what you'd like to do and all of this kind of stuff. So I had the same conversation with the financial director. He kind of just told me that, you know what, in the position that I'm in with COVID, you know, Global's not allowing them to employ more people. So, you know, it's really great that I'm interested in stuff. potentially we can have a conversation down the line and see where this goes. Then, yeah, I mean, a couple of months later again, he called me and he was like, let's just have another conversation and stuff. And then we started to speak about the role more sort of definitively. Like, this is what we need from somebody like you, from the skills that you have. This is what you're telling us that you'd like to do. So, I mean, it sounds really interesting. But again, he was like, let me just chat to people and see where this can go. Then it was quiet for like 6 months. Then December time comes and we're just about to close. And we had a busy year that I promise you I worked. That 2020 year, I worked so hard. I almost killed myself. Like, not really killed myself.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I was dead.
You
I was
were
finished. And I remember, my bosses had already gone on vacation. They were already exhausted. It was literally just like the managers and a couple of directors and all of us just trying to finish the last touches. My bosses were like, deuces. Like, you guys don't swim. You guys can contact us like next year and everything like that. And then literally, again, now they call me back and they're like, Raph, we want to pursue this with you, like formally and everything like that. And they send me a job description. I'm leaving out the long details and everything to make the story a bit shorter. But they literally sent this for me was literally like, I mean, it's been a long time since I've cried, but I really wanted to cry because literally that job description was exactly the conversation we had to the T. To the T. It was almost as though we created the role just through a conversation together. Yeah. And for me, that was literally just like that was like my baby. Like I literally just delivered to myself like my own job. I mean, these guys were amazing with everything and like the energy. As I said, like it felt as though like there was just no restrictions. Like I literally would give them a number. They would say, cool, we can do this. And it was always very close. Like they were just always, they were like, we want you just as much as you want us. And there was support that you needed. And for me, just having that, I didn't even think about, medical aid. I wasn't thinking about retirement fund. I was just like, the fact that you guys want me as much as I want you, I'm game, bro. Just show me where to sign. Just show me where to sign. And it literally happened like so last minute towards the end of the year that I literally had to call my bosses like on just before New Year's to tell them that I'm leaving. And I was like, this is not how I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it in person and everything like that. But me, and I've had so many conversations with them where we had that test like, if I could do anything in the world, what would I do? And I just told them I'd go into music. I'd go into music. And so they always kind of knew it from the beginning. But like they never thought that thing would be a reality because that kind of stuff doesn't happen for most people. You know what I mean? So when I told my boss, he was just like, "Well, Raph, you just gotta do it. Like this is the time. Yeah, this is for you, and I hope it works out." And I was just like, I don't know if it will, but like I feel as though the energy is right. Yeah. And I feel as though just keeping with that momentum of just like if the energy is right and your intentions are right, I feel as though things can work out. Like I mean, it doesn't always happen, but you gotta have that right intention going forward. You know what I mean? If you're already going into something thinking it's gonna fail, it's gonna fail. You know what I mean? So for me, that's kind of how day one at Sony Music started. I literally did not know what I was going to be doing the first day, but I've had an amazing boss who's given me vision and been able to kind of put my skills to play. And I'm loving what I'm doing. It's literally fun for me every single day. That's why when people ask me, why are you going into the office every day? You can work from home. I'm like, for me it's fun. I'm going in, I'm enjoying myself. It's really been an absolute blessing, and I really hope that I do carry that same energy sort of going into life, because I realize, I think it gets to a certain stage where it's no longer about a CV and you kind of handing something in and being like, here's the job that I want. I feel as though you've got to, if you really want to get, I don't really know, this is just my current experience and like what I believe can actually really work if you want to have an amazing career and everything, is that you can kind of define what you want to do. True. And then it's about like the people, like choose an environment that's going to excite you, that's going to give you that energy. Choose the right people that you want to work with, and then if that connection already happens, the CV is kind of like the last thing, because they're going to try their best to try and make that merge. And they'll be like, look, maybe you don't have these skills quite yet, but because I like you, we can probably just put you with this person here, and you can kind of get a bit of training and we'll level you up to that position. You know what I mean? They'll work with you to get there, Sometimes they're not looking for somebody who's like a cookie cut fit perfect for the position. Exactly. It's more about like, you are the person who buys into my vision, and I want you on board because I know there's a long-term journey here with you.
Definitely. So I really like what you said about energies and how they should gel. I know we should probably stop here because I want to taint the story, but I feel like we like your journey actually inspired me. Like I've been a person who, I used to be a go-getter. Like, I don't know what happened. Life happened.
You still seem like you are. Like, yeah.
I'm not as energetic as I used to be.
Sure,
Trust me.
sure.
People who know me will tell you. But I really like your story. I love your story, how you are reinforcing to us. And I hope many other young people listen to somebody who looks like them, who's just as young as them, who has vigor and life, who went for what they wanted. Because there's that saying about how graveyards have so many ideas that never come to life,
Yes.
because we're so scared to go out there and reach for our dreams or our goals. I'm really excited. Tina, do you have anything to say? Because now I'm going to get into the African story.
I think for me, what I'm picking from this, actually, it's a lesson for me that I probably resonate with. And
Security is not key.
That's one. And then number two is, okay, fine. Number two is, sometimes when you're creating something, because I was listening to you with the gaps, 6 months of silence.
Yeah.
Then there's a phone call again. 6 months. For me, I would have just, thrown the towel and be like, you know what?
Look, there's many times that I
Yes.
definitely wanted to, but
So I think when you're creating something, the patience that comes with that, because it's your baby.
Yeah.
And also one thing that I also enjoyed is how you literally participated, in more or less customizing your role at Sony.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hope I got you right there. But I think when you want something, go for it. Be patient and participate fully. And just make sure that you are creating, treat like it's a baby, and see it to fruition. So I think for me that's what stood out.
And also the thing is, now that you're saying what you're saying, what another thing that I'm getting is, do the work. Figure out who you are, what you want, what your desires are, where you will best add value, and the environment that will best add value to you. It's not about you only adding value to the place, but the place also adding value to you. And not only just you as a person, but your spirit. Like where...
spirit's important.
Exactly.
And also don't be afraid to knock as well, because one thing also
Yes.
about me as well is I'm not afraid to knock, because at the end of the day I'm like, I have nothing to lose. So whether you shut the door on me, chances are you would have forgotten about me tomorrow.
True.
So really there's nothing I can be like, maybe we're gonna meet again, and then
you gotta ask for what you want.
just knock, you never know, because the way you literally just knock, as simple as just hey, 1, 2, 3, can we meet up and stuff like that. So I think for me also, knock, literally. Sometimes, for me, I have so many reasons that I always give for not, following through certain things.
Exactly.
But then just knock and, when the door is opened, enter and see what's inside there. If not, there's going to be an opportunity for the next door. Knock on that as well.
For sure.
So, yeah.
So then this is like a personal question. I just want to... So you've been to other countries, you work for an international firm. What has made you stay in South Africa rather than try and pursue opportunities outside South Africa and see the world?
Like Europe, maybe.
Exactly.
Since everyone is literally just migrating there.
Yeah, there's a massive brain drain, which is a problem. Look, I mean, South Africa for me has been very, very good to me. I think, got so many very good friends, which I call family now, in this country. And even with all the nonsense with politics and, xenophobia and all of these things, I think I've been very fortunate to be quite well guarded from a lot of that. I think that's obviously, again, sort of credit to my parents and the hard work that they did to be able to, get us into an environment where we can feel sort of that level of security and everything. And there's been plenty of opportunities as well to go overseas. I definitely want to pursue it at some stage, but I think for me, sort of looking at sort of my dad's and my parents' sort of family and how kind of like the dynamics and how all of that sort of played out as they grew up. They also had a stage where everyone just kind of dispersed around the world, and I saw how that can be. Obviously, it's challenging because everybody develops their own lives. It's years before you see the other person.
Yeah.
And for me, I think with just everything I've been through with my siblings and everything, there's just this one time where we're all in one country, and I feel as though I kind of want to draw as much blood from that as possible. Just spend time with them, because I feel as though that once that foundation is built, no matter where they are in the world, we can still connect. And then I feel it's already kind of happening now. I feel my older sister will eventually go overseas. Same thing with my older brother as well. And then eventually we'll all kind of move away. I think the goal is to go overseas and then back home to Kenya at some point in time. I don't know if I will come back to South Africa. Hopefully But
Yeah,
so I think
yeah.
so we'll see. But I mean, I think for me right now, home is South Africa, despite everything that's going on.
Yeah.
It's a peace sign.
Yeah, peace sign.
Okay.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
the G, not the G sign.
So that's pretty much my main reason for staying here at the moment.
I really like what you just said about how South Africa's home to you. In other news, so what makes you proudly African? So if you listen to the podcast, this is one of the closing questions where we talk about why we're proud to be Africans or why we like being Africans. I know a lot of people, like, you don't think about this question. No one ever thinks about, we all just think Ubuntu because we care about each other. But I mean, okay.
What makes me proud? I mean, I've been thinking about this question as well, and literally I've just not been able to come to like a concrete answer.
Yeah.
I kind of felt as though let me just kind of, go with whatever's in me in this present moment and everything. But I feel as though, this is it's a tough question. I think with Africans, I feel as though like we've got so much heart.
Yes.
We've got so much resilience as well.
Yes.
And we're go-getters. I feel as though like we're just people who create, and we love life more than anybody else does. And this I know from a lot of people who've lived in different countries around the world and have chosen specifically to stay in Africa because they're like, we've never experienced this warmth anywhere else. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. They haven't experienced this warmth anywhere else. They've fallen in love with the people. They've fallen in love with the, with just everything about the country and the energy.
Yeah.
And I think as Africans, we're go-getters. I feel as though like, in a very weird way, like, we're the underdogs. And a lot of people don't.
And we rise above that.
Yeah, exactly. And we blindside a lot of people with our potential and what we can achieve.
Yes.
So
because they never expect it from us.
A lot of people don't expect us to do the things that we do. And I think Africa is just so vibrant.
Definitely.
I think it's the heart for me. There's a lot there. There's a lot
True.
there. And I could unpack that for forever, but I think that's
That's more or less,
And then allow to tend to ask the last question. I think I've been doing a lot of talking.
What's the last question, by the way? What do I want to know? Well, the one I wanted to know actually was earlier on, but I might just ask it now.
Sure.
Moving to Uganda at a young age, how was the experience? I don't know. As a child, I think you moved when you're 8, and then having to migrate again to come to South Africa. Didn't you get to a point where like, you know what, we want stability. I want to be in one space. We are forever moving, constantly making new friends. So
look, I think for me, being a child is always easier. Because yes, it's very difficult when you have to leave your friends and environment that you know, but like as a child your memory is actually very short. You know what I mean? Like you kind of move on very quickly.
Yes.
And you've got that curiosity, you get into a new environment and there's just so much that's absolutely blowing your mind. So Uganda was a lot easier, South Africa was a little bit more challenging. But even now, like I feel as though once you're an adult, like uprooting yourself becomes very, very difficult because you get stuck in your own ways. A lot of people, just kind of lose that ability to be able to just, get out of their own shell and make new friends and everything. So for me, I think my character has just kind of always been like that, where I've always kind of just had that childlike curiosity with people. As I said earlier, like I get my energy from people and I'm always curious about how people live their lives. What makes people tick? What do these guys do for fun? Whatever. And I'm the first person to be like, somebody's like, let's go to this restaurant or whatever, and I'm like, 100%, let's go. You know what I mean? Like let's go. Let's have a good conversation. Let me learn about you. You can learn about me. But obviously, as I said, like I'm a very energy person. Like I'm not just out there in these streets with any random people. It's always about energy for me, and I can read that from people very, very early on. So for me, I feel as though it'll always not be easy, but I'll always try my best to keep myself open and never close, and adapt as much as possible. So, it was fun. It was fun.
I can imagine though, like that must have been an interesting journey, like growing up in 3 different countries. Okay, I lied. The last question. What would you say is the African brand? I take you, I put you in Tokyo. That's where Sony started, right? As an
Yeah,
electronics
Sony
company.
Corp, yeah, it's in
Yes.
Japan, right? Yeah, it is in Japan.
So I put you there. I put you there.
Yeah.
Like, show them Africa.
What is
Or, like,
African brand?
yes.
That is a good question. The African brand. Well, firstly, I feel as okay. The African brand is firstly you've got to be proud to be African. I feel as though you can't. You've got to know your roots.
Definitely.
Never forget who you are. And I feel as though it's. How can I say it? Is that?
Can you
Should
speak Swahili?
This is don't put me on this.
As a root,
You
as a rooted
know how many
person.
times. Okay, maybe the segue while I
But actually, is Swahili the only language in Kenya?
No,
Because
there's
we
probably
always
just as many as there are here in South Africa.
Is
as
Luo
well.
a language
Luo
spoken?
is yeah, it is.
But I've always loved Swahili, and then a friend of mine from Kenya was like, so actually it's not the only. Yeah.
That's okay, Raphael. Let me not put you on the spot.
Sorry, now with the languages thing, this is the issue. So when I moved from Kenya, when I moved from Kenya, not speaking is it done?
No.
No, I was saying it's over as in, the language thing is. Sorry for
I'm
that.
sorry. No, it's so what tends to happen is that I could speak it, but then when I moved away and my parents would always speak to us in English, I lost the ability. And the same thing kind of also happened with French. Because I learned French, I could kind of have like conversations, and then I didn't have anyone to practice, so then kind of like left.
Yes.
But sorry, back to your question about the African brand. The African brand is one of unity.
Yes.
It's definitely. It's one of unity, it's resilience.
Yes.
Resilience, definitely.
And for me, I'd say, I feel as though it's vibrancy, like it's just energy, it's...
Like, man,
Me,
we bring
me,
exactly.
I am Africa, guys.
We are giving.
I am Africa.
Yeah, we give, yeah.
And we're just a colorful people, like there's a lot to us.
Yes.
History-wise,
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah,
Exactly.
our
Know about
diversity,
Africa. There's
you
always
know.
something you want to know about this continent.
exactly,
You know?
yeah. And it's warmth as well. Like I feel as though, like we travel enough in Africa, and this again I learned from my dad and stuff, is that it's just that warmth. And from a lot of people also that I speak to, is that there's just no warmth than the African warmth. You know what I mean? There's no embrace.
No matter where
like
you
the
go,
African
you just
embrace.
feel it, from,
Yeah.
from the onset.
Exactly.
People want to know you, they want to
Yeah.
receive you, they just want to,
100%. Yeah.
Guys, I have
hope
to
that
close.
answers your question.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you. I have to close.
Nothing else from my
And
side.
I'm so
Jay.
sad. Nothing from your side. Switch off the camera. Switch off. Go on
Switch off the laptop,
Leave Teams. Thank you so much, Raphael, for gracing us with your presence on the
Only a
podcast and actually hosting us at your beautiful place. You have been an amazing host. I hope to have you again.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute honor. Thank you guys so much. Really means a lot to me.
Thank
We're
you.
definitely
Appreciate
coming
it.
back.
He said he's going to cook for us.
Yeah,
We're definitely
it'll happen. It'll
Yeah.
happen.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
We're done.
Catch us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. It's Manufacturing Africa. Africa.